I wasn't looking for anything. That's the part that still gets to me. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't digging. I wasn't scrolling through her texts like some jealous guy afraid of losing his grip. It was just a regular Tuesday, late dinner after work. I was in the kitchen, stirring the last of the spaghetti sauce while she disappeared into the bathroom to take a shower. She always does that, eats fast, says she's so tired, and vanishes with her phone in hand. Only this time, she left it on the counter. At first, I didn't even notice it. I was reaching to turn the stove off when my elbow bumped the phone by accident. It lit up. I glanced down like anyone would. It was a voice message, a notification at the top of her screen. Not from a name I recognized. Not from me. The title read, "Your morning voice is my favorite sound." That's all it said. A name I didn't know, and that sentence. Nothing else. My heart didn't race. Not at first. It actually slowed down. That's the part one remember most clearly. Everything else just seemed to pause around me. The pot still bubbling. The fan overhead spinning. But I was frozen in place. I didn't open it. I didn't dare. I didn't want to hear some stranger's voice saying something meant for her. Something she kept to herself. I just stood there, staring at her screen. The message burned into my vision. Your morning voice is my favorite sound. Not how are you? Not see you soon. It was personal. And it wasn't a meme. Not some group chat banter. It was one-on-one. Int asterisk mate. Specific. I heard the water shut off. I put the phone down like it was something fragile I didn't want to break. Like if I touched it too long, it would confirm something I wasn't ready to admit. She came back out, wrapped in a towel, hair up, skin still damp. She looked relaxed. She always looks relaxed. It used to be one of the things I loved about her. Now I'm not so sure. I didn't want to accuse her. That wasn't the point. So I just asked, "Hey, you got a message?" Sounded kinda interesting. She raised an eyebrow, then picked up her phone casually. Didn't even try to hide anything. Just looked at the screen and gave this soft laugh like I'd pointed out something harmless. "Oh, that?" she said, brushing it off like it was a joke. "That's just from a friend. He's always sending voice notes. Dumb little inside jokes. You know how people are." A friend. She didn't panic. Didn't get defensive. Her tone was smooth, calm. But I watched her eyes. They didn't flicker with guilt, but they didn't quite meet mine either. She set the phone down again and walked toward me. Planted a kiss on my cheek. Asked about my day. "Work been stressful?" she said, rubbing my shoulder like she was genuinely concerned. "You should take a day off. Seriously. Go for a hike. Clear your head. You've been grinding nonstop." She flipped the whole conversation in under 10 seconds. Not just changed the subject, but redirected it entirely, off her onto me. Suddenly I was the one under the microscope. I was the one who needed rest. And the worst part? She made it sound so caring, so loving. But I couldn't unsee the message. I nodded, said something about maybe taking Friday off. Tried to act normal. But my mind was spinning. Not from the message itself, but from the way she handled it. Too smoothly. There's a kind of calm that doesn't feel real. You know the kind I mean? It's like when someone rehearses a speech too many times. It stops sounding like a reaction and starts sounding like a script. She had an answer. She had a tone. She had a move ready. And if she had a move ready, that meant she had something worth hiding. I don't know what I expected in that moment. Maybe a little stammering. Maybe a "let me explain" or even a sarcastic joke. But instead, she was composed. Warm. Too warm. Like she'd practiced. I washed the dishes while she went to brush her hair. She hummed to herself. I couldn't tell if it was the same tune she always hums or something different. All of it suddenly felt unfamiliar. That message played over and over in my head like a loop I couldn't stop. Your morning voice is my favorite sound. It's not even what the message said. It's what it meant. It meant she talks to him in the morning, when she's half asleep, unfiltered. That time of day I used to think was just hours. When her voice is groggy and real, and she says little things like, "I dreamed about waves," or "Don't forget the car keys." That's when she was texting him. That's when he's listening. Later that night, I checked the phone again. Not to pry, just to see. But she had locked it. New passcode. She never used to do that. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to turn it into a thing. But then I remembered something else. A couple of weeks ago, I had walked into the bedroom and she was on her tablet. I didn't think anything of it at the time, until she slammed it shut the second I stepped in. Said it was just a work email. Another time, I called her while I was out late. She didn't answer. Texted me 15 minutes later saying, "Sorry, was busy. Nothing urgent, right?" And now I was thinking about that scent she had on last week. Not her usual perfume. Something deeper. Muskier. Not mine. She said it was a sample from a magazine. I believed her then. Now I don't know what I believe. That message unlocked something. Not evidence. Not proof. Just a feeling. A click in my brain. The kind that doesn't make sense in the moment but won't leave you alone afterward. That night, she curled up beside me like everything was normal. Told me good night. Kissed my shoulder. Slid under the blanket and whispered that she loved me. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the silence between her breaths. I didn't say it back. Not because I didn't feel it, but because I needed a second to figure out if what I was feeling was real, or if I was just trying to hold on to something that was already gone. She never erased the message. She never mentioned it again. And she never once asked why I looked at her phone in the first place. It wasn't the message that hurt. It was the quiet confidence, the comfort she had in lying. That's what stayed with me. That's what followed me into sleep. And that's what woke me up the next morning before the sun even came up. After that night, everything looked different. I didn't say anything more about the message, and she didn't bring it up again. On the surface, we went back to normal, laughing over coffee, texting during the day, debating which show to watch after dinner. But I wasn't in the same place anymore. It wasn't even about that voice message anymore. It was the weight of everything around it. I didn't go digging. I wasn't scrolling through her phone or snooping through drawers. I didn't need to. All I had to do was start noticing. And the more I noticed, the more I couldn't unsee. Like how she started keeping her phone screen tilted away from me when she scrolled. Used to be, she'd leave it flat on the couch, even unlocked sometimes. Now it was always face down or in her back pocket. Always on silent. Always locked. Or the way she started jogging. She hated running. Hated sweat. Even used to joke that if she ever saw me running, it meant I was being chased. But a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, she got into it. Said she needed to clear her head and get back in shape. Fair enough. I supported it. Bought her a new pair of running shoes. Encouraged her. But I started to realize she only ran at night. Always after 9 p.m. Always alone. And she always took her phone. No headphones. No smartwatch. Just the phone. And she never came back out of breath. That stuck with me. Another thing, her tablet. She barely used it before. Now suddenly it was glued to her. She'd bring it to bed. Say she was reading or watching some guided sleep meditation app. But when I walked into the room one night and saw her slam it shut again just like before, something clicked. She always had an explanation. Always casual. Always a little too ready. And yet, I started recalling moments from months earlier. Nothing huge, just weird details that I'd brushed off at the time. Like how she'd step outside to get some air after dinner, but only with her phone. Always with her phone. She'd sit out on the porch for 20 minutes, scrolling, sometimes smiling to herself. And when I'd come out to check on her, she'd act surprised to see me, like I caught her doing something she wasn't supposed to. Except she'd just say she was texting her sister or reading an article. I believed it, until I didn't. Then there were the missed calls. She used to pick up every time I called. Didn't matter if she was at work, with friends, shopping. She'd at least shoot a can't talk now text. But lately, nothing. Then, 20 or 30 minutes later, I'd get a sorry, was busy. Nothing urgent, right? I noticed the wording. Always that phrase, nothing urgent, right? Like she was preemptively dodging guilt. And when I hugged her, really hugged her, sometimes there was a faint scent I didn't recognize. Not perfume, not soap. Something masculine. Something too subtle to be cologne, but sharp enough to make me wonder. I asked her once. She said she hugged a coworker goodbye after a long meeting and maybe picked it up that way. Seemed plausible. Until I started noticing that she never posted group pictures anymore. She used to love documenting things, nights out with friends, brunch with the girls, coffee with coworkers. I was always the one behind the camera, taking those couple selfies where she leaned on me and said I smelled like comfort. Now, she barely took any photos of us. She didn't ask for them either. Even on days that felt photo-worthy, Sunday farmers markets, sunny drives, little date nights in, I'd catch her looking through old pictures instead of taking new ones. Almost like she was holding onto the image of us instead of living in it. That stung in a way I wasn't ready to admit. And maybe the most telling thing of all, her smile. I knew her real smile, the one that reached her eyes, the one that made her nose scrunch and her shoulders relax, the one I fell in love with on a Tuesday afternoon in a grocery store when she laughed too hard over a stupid pun I made in the produce aisle. Lately, her smile felt rehearsed. Not fake, just delayed. Came half a second too late, like she was checking if it was the right time to show it. Maybe the most painful realization wasn't the possibility that she was hiding something. It was that she was trying to hide something, actively, quietly, and she trusted that I wouldn't notice. And honestly, that trust, that assumption that I wouldn't pick up on any of it, that's what hurt most. Because I hadn't noticed. Not for months. I'd been busy with work, tired on weekends, distracted during dinner. I told myself she was just tired, or distant because of stress, or changing with the seasons like everyone does. But I see it now, not as one big moment but as hundreds of little ones. Missed looks, half conversations, excuses so casual they felt scripted, a hug that felt stiff, a kiss that landed beside my mouth instead of on it. She wasn't pulling away. She already had. And the worst part? She wasn't even afraid of being caught. Because she thought I wouldn't see it. Because I hadn't seen it. Until now. The confirmation didn't come from a confrontation. Came from the mailbox. Plain white envelope. No return address. No logo. Just my name written in neat block letters. I thought it was some local flyer or a medical bill I forgot about. I tore it open in the kitchen, still half thinking about work, holding a mug of coffee in my left hand. I wasn't ready for what slid out. Printouts. Not one. Not two. A stack. The first was a screensh asterisk T of a message. Her name at the top, the chat layout unmistakable. She was texting someone saved as J. The message said, "Can't wait to sneak away again. Last time felt too good. Next time we'll plan better. I'll handle the cover story." I set my coffee down. My hands were shaking. The next was a photo. Blurry, but clear enough. An elevator mirror selfie. Her leaning into a man's chest. His face partly hidden by the phone, but his arm wrapped around her was undeniable. Then a booking confirmation. A hotel in Portland. The same weekend she said she was at a work retreat. Her name. His name. Jason. Jason. I didn't know a Jason. She never mentioned a Jason. The next image was a boarding pass. 2 names. Her first and last. His first and last. Same flight. Same seat row. Another message. I think he suspects. He's been quieter. I'll keep playing it cool. Another photo. In bed. Hair messy. Her face half hidden in his neck. Timestamped. Geotagged. Same hotel. Same weekend. And the worst part? They looked happy. Not sneaking. Not guilty. Happy. I stood there in the kitchen, flipping through the pages like I was watching a car crash. Couldn't stop. Couldn't look away. Each photo, each message, each little window into this other life she had been living. It tore something in me. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat down. I put the printouts in a drawer. Didn't even lock it. Just slid them in with the pens and old receipts and batteries that don't work. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the empty seat across from me. She usually sat there with her laptop, sipping tea, humming whatever song was stuck in her head that week. Now I was staring at it like it was a crime scene. I thought about the day she went to Portland. How she kissed me goodbye in the driveway. told me not to forget to water the plants. How she sent me a picture of the view from her room that I now knew wasn't even hers. I thought about how I'd wished her good luck on her presentation. How I'd stayed up late waiting for her exhausted but successful text. All of it was fake, but it didn't feel like a lie at the time. And that's what broke me. She had it all planned. Dates, names, travel, alibis. This wasn't a one-time slip. This wasn't a mistake. It was a system, a second life. She managed to lie to my face, kiss me goodbye, and sleep beside me all while building something with someone else. I wasn't a husband. I was a cover story. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was the manipulation, the comfort she had in keeping the truth hidden. And still, I didn't confront her. I didn't ask her who Jason was. I didn't ask why she looked so happy in his arms. I didn't need to, because now I knew. I knew why she started jogging, why she took calls on the balcony, why her smiles felt delayed and her kisses short. I knew what I wasn't meant to know. And once you know, really know, you can't unknow. But you can choose what to do with it. So I folded the envelope, tucked it under a folder in the drawer, didn't touch it again. That night I acted normal. We ate leftovers. She told me about her coworkers. I nodded, smiled, even laughed at one of her dumb stories. She didn't suspect a thing. She had no idea that the entire time she was talking, I was staring at her mouth and wondering how many lies had passed through it. She kissed me goodnight like always, said I love you like always, and I said it back. Because you don't collapse a building from the top. You start at the foundation. And I was already pulling bricks. She thought I didn't know. That was her comfort zone, her safety net. So I let her keep thinking that. I didn't change a thing. Not right away. Not even the small stuff. I still kissed her forehead in the morning, poured her coffee, let her pick the playlist in the car. I still texted her on my way, when I left work, even if I wasn't coming straight home. Because the best way to disappear is to do it slowly. And that's what I did. I started with the garage, told her I was decluttering, trying to make space for the winter. She didn't question it. She never liked going in there anyway. Too dusty, too many spiders. What I was really doing was sorting my life, box by box, folder by folder. I opened a new bank account in a different name, set up a P.O. box, changed the password on my laptop, my email, my phone, all quietly. Every day, I moved a piece of myself somewhere she couldn't reach. Old letters, my high school yearbooks, the cufflinks my dad gave me, things that didn't matter to her but meant everything to me. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did. But noticing and caring aren't the same. I found a small apartment across town. Month-to-month lease. Nothing fancy. Clean floors. Good locks. It didn't need to feel like home. It just needed to feel like mine. I bought a cheap set of plates. A set of towels. A mattress. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my closest friends. Not yet. I needed time. I needed space. I needed silence. I started forwarding my mail. Slowly. The bills first. Then the banking. Then the personal stuff. Meanwhile, at home, I let her believe we were okay. She got comfortable again. Started humming while she cooked. Asked if I wanted to try a new hiking trail next weekend. Said things like, I'm glad we're in a better place lately. She believed my calmness meant trust. But calm isn't always peace. Sometimes it's just preparation. I started making copies of the printouts, the texts, the hotel booking, the photos. I scanned everything, saved it to a hard drive, uploaded backups to the cloud, stored the original letter in a safety deposit box. Not for revenge, for protection. Because I knew if I ever needed to prove the truth, it couldn't be just my word against hers. That's the thing about liars. They're not always sloppy. Sometimes they're smart. So I had to be smarter. I canceled subscriptions she used, quietly removed her from shared accounts. Spotify, Netflix, Amazon. She asked once, Hey, did our Prime get weird? I shrugged. Probably a billing thing. I'll check it later. She didn't bring it up again. Each night, I took something with me when I left for the gym or late work. A photo, a file, a spare set of keys. Each day I became a little less accessible, a little less present. She noticed, but not enough, because she was busy with her own second life. One night, she told me she was thinking of going on another conference trip, some marketing retreat in Napa. I smiled and told her to send me the dates. She looked surprised at how supportive I was. I didn't care. She could go anywhere she wanted, because I wasn't going to be there when she came back. I called a lawyer, set a meeting, told him everything, showed him the proof. He said I had a solid case. We made a plan. I never thought I'd be the guy drawing up escape routes in his own marriage. But there I was, not out of fear, not even anger anymore, just clarity. This wasn't a partnership. It was a performance, and I was done playing the part. The night before I moved the last box, we had dinner together. She made salmon, lit a candle, told me a story about a coworker's bad haircut. I nodded, laughed at the right time, told her the fish was perfect. She leaned over, kissed me, said, "I love nights like this." I smiled, because it was the last one. The next morning, I packed the last of my clothes, my books, my records. I left her side of the closet untouched. I left the ring. I left the spare key on the counter. No note, no warning, no drama. I locked the door behind me, and I didn't look back. It ended at a party, not a fight, not a discovery, not a late-night confrontation in the kitchen with raised voices and accusations. Just a party. Her office was hosting it, some kind of casual celebration for closing a big deal. She asked me to come, said it would mean a lot if I showed up. I almost didn't. By then, I'd already moved out. She just didn't know it yet. I'd been operating on borrowed time, tying off loose ends, waiting for the right exit. But something about the invitation felt important, like the story needed a final page before I closed the book. So I went. I didn't dress up, just threw on a button-up and clean jeans. I didn't bring anything, no wine, no gift. Just myself and the version of me she still thought existed. When I walked in, she was already deep in conversation with a few coworkers. I caught her laughing, hand on someone's shoulder, totally at ease. She didn't see me at first. That gave me a moment to observe. She looked the same confident posture, same effortless charm. But to me, she looked like a stranger in a costume she'd forgotten to take off. Eventually, she spotted me and lit up like I was the missing piece of the puzzle. "Hey, you made it," she said, pulling me into a quick hug that felt more performative than personal. "Come meet some people." I followed her through the crowd, nodding and shaking hands. Faces blurred together. Everyone was smiling, polite, tipsy. The music was low, the wine flowing. We stood near a table of drinks, chatting with a couple she worked with, people I'd never met, who probably knew more about her daily life than I did. The conversation turned, as it always does in these settings, toward relationships. Someone cracked a joke about long-term couples losing the spark. Another chimed in about hall passes, laughter, sarcasm. Then someone turned to us. "You two seem solid," they said. "What's your secret?" And without hesitation, without even glancing at me, she laughed and said, "Maybe we should try an open relationship, just to explore." Just like that. No smirk, no wink, just those words, dropped into the middle of the moment like they were harmless. Maybe we should try an open relationship, just to explore. I didn't flinch. I didn't speak. The room went quiet around us for a beat too long. You could feel the air shift. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see confusion or panic. I saw testing. She was testing the edge, pushing to see what she could get away with, seeing if I would still play along even now. That sentence, those 10 little words, told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't conflicted. She was ready to make what she'd already done into something official. She didn't want forgiveness. She wanted permission. That was the moment. Not when I saw the texts. Not when I got the letter. Not even when I packed my bags. That was when it ended. In 10 seconds of silence that said more than any fight ever could. She looked over, expecting me to joke back, to laugh, to shrug it off like I always did when she made those half-truth jokes that weren't really jokes. But I didn't give her that. I just gave her silence. Pure, unmoving silence. And for the first time, I think it made her nervous. She reached for my arm, tried to play it off. "Kidding," she said quickly, laughing a little too loudly. Obviously. But it was too late. She said it because she meant it. Because that's who she'd become. And I wasn't surprised. I just felt done. Not angry. Not hurt. Just done. I left early. Told her I had an early meeting in the morning. She kissed my cheek and said, "Thanks for coming," like I was just another guest. When I got back to my apartment, I sat in the dark for a long time. No music. No lights. Just the quiet. It felt like standing outside your old house after the locks have been changed. You recognize the windows, the porch, the welcome mat you picked out together. But you know the inside's different now. And it's not your home anymore. I could still hear her voice in my head. "Maybe we should try an open relationship." That was her version of closure. No apology. No confession. Just a test balloon. And I let it float away. 2 days later I left. No fight. No goodbye. No warning. I powered down my phone, locked the apartment I'd already moved into, and forwarded everything legal to my lawyer. She texted, then called, then begged. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to explain. She didn't expect me to vanish, not like this. She thought she'd get to control the ending, spin the story. But I left before she could write the last line. We saw each other only once after that, at the notary's office. We signed the divorce papers in silence. Her hands trembled as she reached for the pen. Mine didn't. I walked out first. And this time she didn't follow. A month passed. Then a call from someone we both knew, an old colleague. Said she'd been fired. Jason wasn't just a fling, he was a client. There'd been an investigation, travel reports, emails, expenses. She lost everything. Him too. I didn't reply to her messages. Didn't read her long apology. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need closure. She had built the collapse herself. All I did was get out of the way. And now, I just keep walking.